So let's move on to Justice Breyer. There were a couple interesting things there.
I interviewed your colleague, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, back in 2012, and I want to play a clip from that interview. Take a look. Will you time your retirement so that a more conservative president can appoint a like-minded justice?
I would not like to be replaced by someone who immediately sets about undoing everything that I've tried to do for 25 years, 26 years. Sure. But, I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you that. Unless you think I'm a fool.
Do you agree with Scalia that a justice who is unmindful of the politics of the president who replaces him, who's unmindful of that?
It's the theme of this show.
I don't intend to die on the court. I don't think I'll be there forever. But I've said a few of the considerations previously, and
do you think the consideration that Scalia mentioned, I don't want to be replaced by somebody who's going to undo everything that I've done?
Undo everything I've done?
Yeah.
I see the point, and probably in your background could be something. There are many considerations, many considerations.
This brings us to the calls for you to step down while a Democratic president and can appoint your successor, and a Democratic Senate can confirm your successor. Here's one example of that.
He makes his own decision about if he's going to retire, but if he's going to retire, it should be sooner rather than later if you are concerned about the court.
What do you think of those calls?
Well, I think that they're entitled to their opinion. I think and not only they understand the political world much better than I, or they understand it pretty well. And there we are. What else?
I think he should have said. I think Amy Klobuchar should stop telling that hair joke.
Increase the chances that a Republican Senate will be there to confirm your successor.
Well, I mean, there are factors. There are many factors. In fact, quite a few. And the role of the court and so forth is one of them. And
all right,
the situation.
And then there was another interesting clip that, of course, Aaron Rupar, the unofficial tweeter of the Democratic National Committee, but he had he tweeted out an interesting line from Breyer.
Look at what Senator Mitch McConnell did. In 2016, he refuses to give Merrick Garland even a hearing in the 8 months before the election. And then in 2020, he pushes through Amy Coney Barrett in 1 month before the election. Doesn't that undercut the authority of the court?
I was confirmed, and I was nominated. And the confirmation process and the nomination process, well, I say, usually when you ask me about that, and people do, I say it's like asking for the recipe for chicken a la king from the point of view of the chicken. and I will say, that's a flip joke. But the truth of the joke is that's the political environment. Now, you may disapprove of it. I may disapprove of it. And if enough people in the public want it to change or be modified one way or the other, it will be.
Thoughts, Katie?
I like the chicken joke.
Yeah.
It was a good joke.
Is that his joke?
I don't know. Maybe it's like, who else do you think it's like secretly passed on?
No, I think it's probably like, one of those sort of standard.
Oh, yeah. But I don't even know what chicken a la king means, by the way. But it's interesting that he uses a la king and because it brings in the whole monarchy issue. And, we're talking,
I guess.
Right? We're talking, I mean, that's not obviously what he's doing. But he didn't say chicken francese or, chicken parmesan, which are actually.
Kiev.
Yeah, or Kiev. Well, of course you would think that, Matt. Of course you would think that.
Right.
But I mean, he's just covering. I mean, I don't know. He's just justifying, I guess, the Supreme Court, right? Not surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean,
and saying if you don't like it, you change it.
Right. I mean, first of all, why is this issue coming up again? Has he been talking about retirement?
Getting older.
Getting older. Okay, so he's just
every day he's on the court. It should be. I think it's relevant.
So okay, so he's getting older, so the clock is ticking, and so people want a younger person in there before 2024.
Or Biden expires as a president or a person.
Right. Well, Biden's not going to nominate a Republican in his place. It's going to be
right. That's why Dems want him to step down.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. What I'm saying is, yeah. Either way, they want him to. They want this taken care of before 2024. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's interesting.
It's so unpopular and unappealing. They really need to have it done while Biden's.
I was just about to say is that, you know, maybe it's not just this story, but what I hear repeatedly is that there's just anxiety about 2024, and it's also part of the $3.5 trillion spending bill as well, which is. It's not just that this is going to affect 2022, you know, in the midterms, which everybody's worried about already, which is surprising to me a little bit. But there's real worry about 2024, even though, you know, Biden relatively, I think he's surpassed my expectations in terms of how horrible he could have been.
Yeah. He surpassed your expectations, like, given how horrible, you're not saying that your expectations of horribleness have been surpassed. You're saying given how horrible he could have been, you actually think he's done better than you thought. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think I even think they tried to do, you know, a decent job on some things. Afghanistan was terrible. Clearly they made some mistakes on.
But it was good.
I mean, right. Leaving. Yeah. Yeah, but politically, it's going to be a loser for him.
Politically, but your work. I mean, that's in terms of like the morality or the ethics or of what he's done. Not. I mean, in terms of like, I think we agree that Afghanistan was the right thing to do. Has not been managed. I mean, how much of this? I think so much of this is just the way the media decided to report on it.
Well, yeah. There's that, and I think there's a couple of things going on with that. I think one is that there's the kind of, I don't know, if you want to call it the military-industrial complex. We already talked about this. I think they already recognized that the game was up in Afghanistan and that they had to leave at some point. However, they didn't want to do it now. They wanted to keep the gravy train rolling for a little bit longer. They were very glad to have a little bit of a pause last year after the Bountygate thing. You know, they kind of extended the stay a little while longer. They wanted to pursue the middle strategy this summer, you know, that whole thing. But I don't think there's anybody who really believes that the mission per se could be continued, you know, for the long term. But they definitely want to punish anybody politically for withdrawing at all from any military engagement, just to set an example for next time, I think. Right. You know, so Biden's going to take a lot of grief for doing, I think, what we both think is the right thing in leaving, or at least leaving as much as they have, right? Because they're going to leave contractors there and do all kinds of other stuff, and but. Yeah. Politically, it's been a loser, but I'm also talking about the bills that they already passed in terms of spending and that kind of thing, which were a little bit more aggressive than I thought would have happened. You know, coming into this administration, like I expected them to go straight back to full on neoliberal, conservative, worried about spending limits, all that other stuff, and they didn't do that at first. So.
Yeah, they've done some spending,
right? But what we're seeing over and over again, and again in this came out in the spending bill story, is this anxiety, like we have to worry about the suburbs, we have to worry about this and that, and it's because I think it's because they're worried that even whether it's Biden or especially if it's Kamala, that they have a problem in 2024.
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
Kamala, not liked.
No, Has she been kind of absent from the news lately?
Kind of. She's like pulling like a Hillary during the general election type of thing, or Biden during the general.
Right. Right. She's like in a basement somewhere.
Yeah. Or standing behind Biden, kind of ready. She's often in that like pre-lunge position where you see she's like anticipating that he's going to fall over, or maybe that she's just going to run over and strangle him. But she's like forwards. It's interesting.
Accidentally fall onto his larynx, right?
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's a savvy position because it looks like you're prepping for either thing. Like you could just be prepping to save the dude if he falls over, but even actually in the course of saving him, you could wind up ripping out his larynx by accident.
Right. And what a terrible thing that would be.
I know.
Right.
Hello, thank you so much for listening to and watching Useful Idiots. For full episodes and extended interviews, please subscribe at usefulidiots.substack.com. You can subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/usefulidiots for clips, live streams, and full episodes. Also, subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at UsefulIdiotPod and use the hashtag UsefulIdiotsPod. Join us Mondays at 10 a.m. for the Useful Idiots Monday Morning Show, where we discuss the Sunday morning news shows so you don't have to watch them.